And howdy folks, welcome to Digipack Snacks. My name is Colin.
And I'm Meg.
And this is a family travel podcast where we chat all things high, all things low, and the long miles in between of traveling with kids. And I say this all the time, but man, we have a fun episode coming up.
We've got just a lot of
chit chat about to happen here.
A lot of chit chat.
Lots going on because the hottest event in the universe just happened, which was my birthday. Bet you were not ready for that.
No, I thought you were going to mention my haircut.
Oh, whoa. So many things happening. So Megan literally just walked in. She just had her hair appointment.
Guys, and like I think I said in the last podcast, I've been wearing hats every time we record. This isn't like a ploy to get you to hop over to YouTube or hop over to Spotify because it's really not that impressive.
But you don't want to miss it.
It's not. I'm feeling myself in this moment. I cut all my hair off. It's this cute little bob.
It's gone.
But it's also like done, which never happens. So you're welcome to those watching. I look very presentable today.
You're claiming that it is like the current trend.
Yeah, short hair, a little bob,
a little mom cut.
Sure.
Is it mom? Is it mom-ish?
I think it's just like a cute shortcut. You don't have to put mom in front of everything.
Okay, it doesn't scream like mid-30s.
Maybe it does, but that's where I'm at.
That's who we are. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Well, you're obviously very cute right now. So
Thanks.
I like it.
Okay,
it's a change.
Back to you.
But back to my birthday, which is why I have some pumpkin pie ahead of me. This has been my weekend treat. But we've done a lot this weekend.
Because, well, it's his weekend treat because that's what he wanted for his birthday cake was a pumpkin pie. Mm-hmm. But nobody else in the house eats it.
No.
So he's slowly chipping away at a pie all by himself.
Like I said, it's my birthday month. But we told the listeners that we were going to host a party last weekend. And my dream was to have a chaotic house. And I think we achieved it.
We did. We invited a lot of people over. Not everybody could make it, but even because it was kind of short notice.
It was short notice.
But even the people that were able to make it, there were, 20 kids.
Yeah, maybe. And at one point I looked around and I didn't know like when all my friends combined, we had this many kids. And I was a little scared.
There were a lot of children.
They were climbing on roofs.
I know. We have a shed in our backyard that we converted into like a playhouse. And I look over my shoulder and I'm thinking, wait, what is that? And there were children on the roof of the shed. I didn't even know they could get up there.
No, they were literally running around the backyard like wild children. And I thought, oh yeah, I guess this is what I wanted.
This was the chaos that you hoped for.
Every parent was happy.
Everyone was chill. And even though there were a lot of them, they played really well. It was just a really fun night. And Colin's birthday on Monday was the day in South Carolina. We woke up and it was warm. The sun was out and it felt warm. By like noon, all of a sudden there was a chill in the air. And by the time it was your party, it felt like fall.
Sense. You woke up and it was warm?
It was warm outside.
And then the cold wind started blowing.
And then clouds came in and then all of a sudden it was chilly and it's been cold here ever since. The shift literally happened on your birthday.
You know what?
Like fall.
That deserves a bite of pie for that.
Okay. What else about your birthday did you love? Because we kind of celebrated all weekend.
We did a lot of things, but I want to mention this real quick.
Wait, first you need to swallow because
I think I want people to be in this room with us.
I think people don't love mouth noises.
I disagree.
I think I'll take this one. I think we can all agree.
I think in 2023, it's 50-50.
No.
A lot of foodies out there love it.
We don't want to hear you chew. That's not why people listen.
Okay. This is a travel podcast, Colin. Pay attention. But we went to a Taylor Swift Eras tour in IMAX.
Yes.
And it's my first ever, dip in the water, so to speak, in the Taylor Nation.
Right, because you didn't go to the Eras tour with me.
Sadly.
I
wanted to, but all my other guy friends were like, no, let's just let the wives go. And now we're all regretting it.
Right.
Because I got major FOMO. But I really enjoyed myself.
It was fun.
Songs came on and I was like, oh, shoot. And I knew every word to All Too Well because it's on our girls' bedtime playlist. So we listen to it almost every single night.
Well, Well, it's far back on the playlist. It's like a half an hour in.
Oh, I usually do shuffle, so I never know what's gonna happen.
I was going to say, it's not like the first song that pops up when they're falling to sleep, usually.
Yeah.
But I have it on there for me in case we let the playlist run its course.
Well, I saw a meme today, and it was like a mom crawling on the staircase, and it said, this is you conjuring up energy after you've just spent 45 minutes in the dark room with the sound machine on, putting your kids to bed.
Oh, that's the truth.
We do that every night. So that's why we added some songs that like we would like and not just like lullabies, so that we could also jam out.
I will say though,
what did Charlotte say about
the girls have listened to it a few times now. And
more than a few times.
Right. And so at the end when she says that she's like watching the door waiting for Jake Gyllenhaal to come to her birthday party.
Supposed to be fun, turning 21.
Right. Charlotte goes, wait, so he didn't, her boyfriend didn't come? And I said, no, baby. And she said, oh, so they broke up? And I'm like, yeah, a long time ago.
And the other day, we caught Charlotte in her room writing a breakup song.
She did. She was talking about when we were together at 16 and now I'm 18. Like, she just learned those numbers. What is going on?
I was 16. I loved you.
Yes.
It was cute.
So cute.
But yeah, we had a chaotic birthday. Taylor Swift was great. I had Raisinets at the theater, which I think now is my favorite snack in the world. I think that's like talking about a podcast about snacks. To me, Raisinets just went up.
But they wouldn't travel well. They're a good movie theater snack, but Raisinets are going to get melty.
I don't know.
In your bag.
You don't think they're made out of that same like artificial chocolate that M&Ms are?
Oh.
Did you know that M&Ms were created in the World War so that soldiers could have them and it didn't melt?
That makes me wonder about that chocolate.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
So that's true. Maybe Raisinets are a good travel snack because they won't melt.
Right.
But what's in them?
You know what? Let's not find out.
Let's not find out.
Yeah. But yeah, Raisinets are up there. What else did I want to talk about? I'm wearing a new hat that my friends gave me.
Oh, on your birthday. That was sweet. The girls, like, you woke up to presents. Liv decorated the house.
Yeah.
We took you to Mexican food.
Yeah. And in case y'all are wondering, I am turning 33 this year.
Yeah.
And 33 just feels like a random number. It's just random. It's not 30, not 35, not 40. And I think the theme of this year, Megan said at our Mexican dinner, she said, what do you want for this year? And I said, Megan, I just don't want to give up. I just want to keep going. Whatever it is we're doing, I just want to keep trucking along.
Well, because we've been working on a lot of different things this year, whether it's like health or rhythms or things that we value as a family, or this podcast,
our business.
Yeah, it all has been taking a lot of effort, but it's this slow climb. And so you just were saying that you wanted to keep working towards these goals that we have.
And emphasis on the slow.
It's so slow.
And life is like that sometimes. We have some wins every now and then, but many a times we just want to give up. But here we are. Eating pie, recording yet another podcast, episode 22.
Let's go.
Going on 200.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And if we say it every episode, but if you love the podcast, we'd love for you to leave a review, share it with your friends, or even just send us a message and tell us something that you enjoyed about it. I mean, those messages and interaction is really encouraging to us too.
A quick shout out to one of our listeners from Nashville, Tennessee. My friend Jesse texted me on my birthday to wish me happy birthday, and also said we've been listening to your podcast. We listened to it all the way down to the beach, and even like told his dad about what stopovers are and that maybe he could use it on a trip back to Asia this year. And I was like, how cool is that?
That is awesome.
Yeah. And so it is neat. So tell us stories if this podcast is helpful to you at all. But real quick, I want to shift to something else that we have been championing in our house. And I want to play this quote. Is that okay?
I think so.
You know how when you like send your best friends or your spouse memes? Well, I'm going to do it right now, but like live on podcast.
Okay.
All right.
Read recently, I think it was some TikTok thing I saw, but it was an old business guy, and he was saying, the real definition of success in life is not money or material things or anything like that. The real definition of success is if you're a father and your kids, when they become adults and therefore can make their own decisions, choose to hang out with you because they want to hang out with you. And that's the ultimate definition of success. What do you think of that theory?
Gosh, that is so good.
Yeah, and we've heard that from another author, Andy Stanley, in his book too, that we want our kids, when they grow up, to choose to hang out with us even when they don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for all you parents out there, that is such a good indicator of what, like, a successful family could be like. You know?
Well, it's just interesting because when you think about success, of course, your thoughts go to money or wealth or homes or cars. But when
or in our cases, our parents really wanted us to have steady jobs,
right,
get a good education, and have a good career.
Yeah, like those were the wins.
Yeah.
But, you know, we did read this book by Andy Stanley that Colin mentioned, and he kind of talks about this idea too, as that being the ultimate goal and the lens in which you parent from. And ever since we read that, I feel like a lot of things have shifted for me because that is my goal. You know, I think I used to believe, oh man, I can't wait for the kids to leave the house because then I get to live my life. Like, wait, what am I even saying? When my kids leave my house, I'm going to want them to live next door to me. I'm going to want them to hang out with me on Tuesday nights and watch a show together. I'm going to want to cook dinner.
Maybe not next door, but close.
I'm just saying there's not this point, I think, in my life that all of a sudden I'm going to be excited that they're far away. I'm always going to want them close. I want us to truly live life together. I want us to make memories together. So I saw that this morning and I sent it to Colin. I'm like, man, this still rings so true as like the ultimate thing that we're looking towards, you know? So whether we have this business or we're doing other things and maybe we have short-term goals and other dreams, but I never want to lose sight of that as being the ultimate goal, that family is everything, and creating this life with them and a relationship with them that we still get to enjoy them even when they don't have to hang out with us anymore. They still want to. Like, that is where our eyes are focused on as the long-term goal. And I just think that it's the most important thing.
Yeah. And what do you think about, like, because we've had several conversations with parents of like older kids or parents of teenagers that are friends of ours that tell us with tears in their eyes, and they're going, you know, we only have this amount of summers left with our kids, or we have 18 summers. What do you think about that idea? Because I don't know, because we only have a 5 and a 7-year-old, but I also don't want to just like, yes, I know that first 18 feels special because I'm still like an adult and you're not fully independent yet. But at the same time, I would want to think, I would like to believe that it goes way beyond that.
I mean, we still vacation with my parents every year.
Yeah.
And like we're in our 30s. And so I do think that I understand the sentiment of we only have 18 summers.
The sense of urgency.
Because I mean, they're not independent. They're living under your care, and you kind of get to dictate what summer and time looks like. So I get wanting to make the most of that season. That's definitely a very unique season. Yeah. But I don't necessarily think about it as this block of time that stops the summer that they go to college, because like I said, our ultimate goal is building a family and creating a relationship with them that they'll want to hang out with us even when they're 19, even when they're 20. But that's going to look different.
Right.
They're going to have jobs. They're going to have days off. They're going to have their own ideas. But just cultivating, I don't think for me, I feel anxiety about counting summers because I'm looking at the long game. And the long game is we're going to make memories together for as long as we can.
Yeah, you're right. We're playing the long game, and we're going to try to be as healthy as we can, to be great parents. And yeah, I thought that was a cool quote that other parents would maybe, I don't know, be encouraged by today.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of parent and child interactions, we are watching a show and 2 contestants on the show.
Yeah.
It's a mom and a son, and their interactions, you should tell everybody about it, but their interactions have been making me tear up.
Man, it's okay. I have a thing about like British television. What are you doing to my pie?
I'm just putting it on the ground. Keep going.
but I might want to. We might say something really good, and I need a bite. I'm gonna reach for that later. But we're watching this. I'm kind of obsessed with British television. I'm obsessed with English football, British television. But they have a show on the BBC called Race Across the World, and to me, I'm gonna hurt some hearts out here, but I think it's far superior than The Amazing Race. Fight me. But a lot of my friends that love The Amazing Race, I was like, what do you like about it? They love, and they tell me, we love how they navigate the world and, how you buy the tickets, how you get to all the destinations. And this show is all of that minus the silly challenges like spinning cheese in Switzerland.
And minus some of the drama.
Yeah.
I would say there's a little bit less drama, which British television in general does a great job of lowering that.
Like, they're just like so human.
Right. But it still involves that getting from one country to the next. There's still racing. They're on a budget. I think it's great. You would love it.
And the thing about this show is you can't watch it anywhere on US TV. I found someone uploaded it on the internet, so that's how we're watching it. But it's Race Across the World, and it's so sweet that these parents are traveling with their kids. And their mission right now in season 3 is to get from Marrakesh, Morocco to Tromsø, Norway. And they have $2,000 per person, or euros, to get there. And they can't fly airplanes. So they just have to do buses, trains, hitchhike, all that. Do jobs to earn money. And it's just a great show. And I think season 1 and 2 might be on Prime or Hulu. Definitely watch that. It's my favorite travel show on TV.
It's a great one.
All right. Before we even get to our next segment, I just want to real quick. It's the deal of the week.
Well, that is our next segment. Not before we get there. That is the next one.
Okay. Deal of the week. And again, this is coming to you from our friends at Going. We love Going. They send us deals almost every day. And we get to maybe for 5 or 10 minutes daydream. But last night, they sent a very insane deal that almost tempted us to book our next trip.
It did. They sent a deal to go to Peru sometime in 2024 or early 2024. And how much was that ticket, babe?
It was $370.
Which is a steal.
And it was out of Asheville. It was out of Charleston. We live in South Carolina. So to drive an hour to an airport, to fly $300 plus to Peru, to go see Machu Picchu, Lake Titicaca, to see some wild alpacas, some wild llamas, there's a lot of rich culture in Peru. I want to ride trains in the mountains. It's just an amazing, amazing deal. And we almost did it, but we chose not to because, we have other plans for 2024.
Yeah, we're just holding out. But it was tempting.
But that's the deal of the week.
Man. And I think you even looked up if you could travel early June and the tickets were still in the low 400s, right? Right.
You could go spring break. You could go in March. You can go in February. You could go in May when school gets out. And it goes away for June and July, but then comes back in August. So, and there's other cities too. It's not just Asheville or Charleston. So look it up, and it's through Delta Airlines. So if you got some Skye miles and you want to go to Peru, that's your deal of the week. Thank you, Going.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
We're talking about a loaded topic today, which is we're talking about RVs and vans and who is it for, why do it, the pros, the cons, and just our experience with it.
Yeah, mainly just chatting through our experience. We've done both multiple times. And so this is just kind of figuring out the pros and cons. If you're looking at, especially an outdoorsy type vacation, visiting somewhere where you're going to be driving a lot, taking in nature, going to beautiful views, it could be a great option for your family.
Yeah.
So we're just going to chat about why we love it and maybe why we don't.
Let's start with why we don't.
You love to start there.
Yeah, because I'll be honest here. I'm a little skeptical of the RV scene. And RV life is not for everyone, but it is for a lot of people.
Right.
And a lot of people are thriving and they love it and they're happy, and that's amazing.
And we've only ever done it short term.
Right.
So we can't speak into that being a lifestyle, something that you do for months or years, we're talking about booking a vacation, renting an RV for 7 to 10 days and exploring somewhere new.
Yeah. And so let's start with the cons.
Go for it.
What is not, so should we do RV and then maybe occasionally talk about van life?
Yeah, because they're similar in some ways.
In some ways, yeah. Okay, so some of the things that I dislike about doing an RV vacation is that, to all you dads out there, we are just like the designated driver.
Most of the time.
And let's not kid ourselves here. RVs are ginormous. And I have anxiety when I'm going down the highway, Megan.
And there are some places that are just built for RVs, right? Like when we were exploring Canada around Banff National Park, those highways are wide. The camping places are used to having RVs come in and out. It's just a place where if you did choose to rent one, I feel like it's a lot like Utah or Arizona.
Right.
That part of our country is just built for that kind of travel.
Yeah.
But then, we rented an RV in Scotland once.
Ooh.
Those roads are not built for RVs. They're very small and narrow.
Right.
And so I think you also have to first kind of figure out, where am I going? Is this something that's going to be, am I going to a place that's going to welcome this kind of travel? Or am I going to be scared out of my mind because there's not enough room on the road?
Yeah.
For a car this big or a vehicle this big.
You're right. So I will say that, if I was going to go to Arizona, Utah, Montana, all these giant states, I wouldn't mind. But I will say, when we did it from Edinburgh, Scotland to the Isle of Skye, I think I broke down emotionally and mentally many a times.
You got some gray hairs from that experience.
I got some gray hairs.
The roads are so narrow in the UK.
Right. But here's another con as to like big vehicles, is that it does limit you to, like for us, we love a lot of spots that have cool nature features. Nature feature, that's really fun to say. So, and nature features includes like windy coastal roads, or to get to a very cool viewpoint, you're driving up these windy mountain roads, And in those scenarios, I feel like, because I love nature that much, I feel it limits me a little bit because of how big this vehicle is,
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think that's a realistic con.
Yeah. What's another con?
Another con. I think another con is just overall upkeep. So, you use the bathroom, you got to deal with that. You're run out of water, you got to figure that out.
You have to find a place to empty your gray water and your black water.
Right. You have to figure out how to operate the RV, not only drive it, but are there bump outs? Are there other features that you have to turn on and off at night? How do you operate the heating? There's a little bit of a learning curve, which most rental places do a really great job in giving you like a 30-minute lesson before you leave.
Yeah. But
we have had some instances where I've called customer service and said things like, hey, so the fridge is making this sound. Or, hey, I'm trying to put out the bump out and it's just going click, 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 click.
And it stopped working.
And it stopped working. But I will say, in that situation, the customer service representative was able to navigate me through everything. They've heard all of these sounds before.
Right.
So it ended up being fine. But that's because... But it still added a little stress.
It added some stress.
Just because you're taking care of something that
and I kind of
is very expensive.
And I kind of want to tell that story in more detail, because I think it is very fascinating. Because when you heard that sound, like, hey, the fridge is making the sound.
Oh, she immediately was like, oh, don't worry about that. And I said, what do you mean? And she was like, was it raining the last 24 hours? And I was
like, how did you know?
I said, yeah, it's been really rainy. She said, well, that just means that the solar power is
charging. Yeah.
And so that's why it's making that sound. It's not broken. Don't worry about it. There just wasn't enough sunlight and it's working overtime. I was like,
wow.
What? Okay. Then I asked her about the bump out. She's like, glitches sometime also when it's raining because there's like water in the, what do you call it? Slides?
We're so technical.
There's water in the slides.
Sound
and so
sound.
she basically was like, I'm going to tell you how to push it in safely. You're going to push it in. You're returning it tomorrow. Don't even worry about it.
Right. And this is shout out to Canada Dream. This happened, we called them at 9:00 at night in Lake Louise campground.
Yeah, so that's the benefit of renting through like a major company rather than just renting one off of
a friend's RV.
Sure,
or
you just have that resource.
RV share. Yeah. And yeah, their RVs were like top of the notch too. So I will say, like, if you're gonna go with a big RV, a luxurious RV, go with a reputable company with great insurance, with great customer service. That's what you want.
And I'll say another con, since we're going to just knock these out first, and then we'll say all the reasons why it's great. Another con would be you're definitely limited in where you can stay. So, you know, some countries in Europe, in the UK, you can kind of stay off the grid. We've used that website. What's it called?
Hipcamp?
Hipcamp. They have spots kind of like Airbnb, but just for places to park your vehicle.
More rugged.
More rugged. So you might not be able to plug into electricity, but if you wanted to spend a night off the grid, you could look up Hipcamp for a place to go.
Well, they sometimes have nice tents and yurts too.
That's true.
But mostly it's campsites and campgrounds. Yeah.
So when planning your itinerary, that's why it's really important to pick a place that's welcoming to RVs, because then when you pull up and you're trying to plan your days out, you're going to have ample places to park. Where when you're trying to RV somewhere that maybe it's not as popular, you may be presented with some challenges because there are long distances between places where it's okay for you to stay for the night.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of my hesitation too comes from my first experience. And this is a wild story. Are you ready for this?
I don't even know what you're going to say. So yeah, I'm ready.
A group of my buddies and I in college had mapped out the perfect, most epic road trip around the U.S. We were going to start in Virginia, go all the way south to the Southwest, California, Utah, Arizona, make it up all the way to Seattle, and then cut over to Montana, go down to Wyoming, Jackson Hole, Colorado, and then make it back to Virginia. And this was going to be a month-long road trip. We called it the road trip of a lifetime.
And you basically presented this to your school and said, hey, we'll hand out flyers. We'll do all these different things that are going to help your admissions team.
Right.
So you should pay for this trip. And they said yes.
We convinced our school's marketing team to drive a Liberty University van, this giant van, 15, 16 passenger van. And we had Liberty merch to pass out. We had applications to the school, and we just repped the Liberty, and our whole pitch was like, hey, I'm a photographer, videographer. We're going to make this epic documentary. We're going to go to all these national parks, and you'll see Liberty University around America's greatest national parks.
And they said yes.
Somehow they said yes. But then I had never driven a vehicle that big before. There were 7 of us guys when it came, and we started driving from Virginia. Our first stop was the Grand Canyon. It's 48 hours, in case you're wondering. And by the time it was Colin's turn to drive, I had been avoiding driving the whole time. By the time it was my turn, it was 9:00 at night, and we're driving through Arizona, and the speed limit is 120. And as I'm driving, cars are just going past me. Our huge vehicle is rattling, which you get when you're driving RVs. Everything just makes a sound. There's dishes, there's pots and pans, and was not used to that. So I tell this whole story just to say, you know what? You might want to ease into RV life. You don't go from driving a Camry to say we're gonna go on an RV vacation, you know. And I don't know what the middle ground is. But I am willing to bet that your first RV experience, if you are getting a huge vehicle, it's going to be scary. It's going to be loud. Go somewhere safe. Go somewhere with big roads. And just take it easy. You know, it's definitely a lifestyle more than it is like, I'm going to go RVing this weekend.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think another thing, just talking about the space of the vehicle, is it's a big thing to drive and park, but inside, depending on what size you're renting, can feel cramped really quickly, especially if you're traveling with kids. I mean, you're going to be spending a lot of time outside probably, because I think of an RV trip a lot like a camping trip. You're just kind of going inside to sleep. But this will be a shout out to our van life experience in Australia. It was awful, you guys. Like, it wasn't awful because the van was awful. It was awful because we just had this, there's no bathroom in there. So you're staying, or we chose to get one with no bathroom.
Yeah.
So we're staying at a campground. We put down the bed on the top. So it's kind of like bunk beds, but both of them are just really narrow in height.
Yeah. I would say we went with a classic looking van instead of the new like Sprinter vans that you see now.
That's true. It was not a Sprinter van. It looked just kind of like a van. And the four of us were sleeping in there, and it was so tight and so small. None of us slept well. I do think I could give it another shot on a Sprinter van situation where you have like a place to sleep and a place to sit.
Or like
that was my biggest complaint. Was there the only place to sit was the bed where you were sleeping, but if the other bunk was down, you were like, you only could lay. So that just felt a little complicated.
Yeah, or like when we were getting dressed, the half the family would need to step out so that the other half could get dressed.
Like even have space to like put pants on.
Right.
But I do think
that's very important. You want to have pants on these trips.
I do think a Sprinter van could be a really cool thing to do. I think Iceland would be a great place for that.
You should try that.
I think Utah, Arizona, those places would be great for a Sprinter van, because I like the idea that it's smaller than an RV. So it feels like, okay, if I can drive, a Pilot or a truck, that's only a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that you can stand up inside properly, that there's maybe a dining room to sit, and there's usually a bathroom inside, which, again, don't love having to empty that. But I think we should give a Sprinter van a try.
This podcast is changing a heart and a mind over here.
Well, I think we should go from that little shift and just follow it into some of the pros of traveling in an RV. What are some things that would be a benefit to choosing that kind of vacation?
Sure. I think it depends on the type of your trip. If you are going to a country where you want to see a lot of things, like an Iceland road trip or an Australia road trip, or, in America, where you're not just going to one place and you're not flying in and flying out, I think it's worth it because you're traveling with your accommodations and you get to have groceries. And we've cooked some amazing meals in RVs. And so I will say that is a pro.
Another pro is just the fact that when your kids are hungry, when they want a snack, your kitchen, your groceries are right there. You can throw them one while you're driving. You could pull over to prepare a quick snack and then start going again. If they have to use the bathroom and you're in the middle of nowhere, again, you have that with you. If you're feeling tired and all of a sudden your itinerary needs to shift, yes, you may need to find a safe place to park that night, but you can shift your itinerary because your accommodations are also your vehicle. So that kind of just, as in terms of family travel, I do think that there are some advantages to it because you have all of the necessities that it takes to travel with little kids with you.
Right.
Including like your bed, your toilet, your fridge. That's very unique.
Now that I'm reminded of all these experiences, I came into this podcast being like, Megan, I'm going to be the bad guy. You're going to bad cop, good cop. But I do remember anytime we stopped, it was like, we don't have to go, hey, where's the bathroom? Like, all right, kids, use the potty. And then I remember us stopping at like random castles in Scotland and just eating lunch. Like immediately sitting down, or like we're driving and the kids are like, I'm hungry, and you would just go grab a snack real fast or make a sandwich real fast. And so yeah, when it comes to like the theme of this podcast on whether or not did you pack snacks, it's a good snack provider.
It's a great snack provider.
Yeah.
And I think it to me, the kind of people that are going to look into traveling in an RV and planning a trip in an RV are people that already probably like the idea of camping. Maybe they camped before they have kids. Maybe they camp with kids. And so an RV to me is an elevated version of that same kind of adventure.
You're not sleeping on the ground.
Yeah, but you still are expecting some, inconvenience when it comes to finding a place to park for the night, or you're still expecting your meals to not be restaurant material, but they're going to be better than tent camping material. You're not cooking over a fire. So I just feel like the people that are going to be excited about it or dream about it probably are like accepting of the flaws already, because they probably just like those kind of adventures from the get-go.
Right. One of my things that I was kind of teetering on, whether it was a pro or not, or con or not, was that you are limited to RV sites or campgrounds only. And then my thought was, well, but what if I really wanted to stay at that cool Airbnb? Or like, I really wanted to check out this new hotel in this country, but then I'm doing an RV trip. Do you think I can't do that? Can I do both?
Oh,
Does that defeat the purpose of getting an RV?
You can absolutely do both. Like when we were in Australia on that not so fun van adventure, like I said, it wasn't fun because it was small, but we did that. We were like, okay, we need a break. We need to take a proper shower. We need a night of sleep that's not feeling cramped. So halfway through that long weekend, we booked a night at a hotel. We parked the van outside and we stayed in a hotel. So I think if you're doing an RV trip and say it's like 10 days or 2 weeks long, I think booking maybe 3 Airbnbs throughout that stay, or maybe 2 on significant nights or in significant locations, just to give you a break. Get some space from the kids, sleep in a different bed.
Yeah, I did remember on our last night of the Great Ocean Road trip, we stayed in a hotel and we ate at a restaurant that night. And then the next morning we swam in the pool, and it just rounded out the whole experience.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you should go somewhere and limit yourself to one thing if the budget allows. But speaking of budget, I do think that it can get really comparable renting an RV and, that being your vehicle and your housing for the duration of your vacation. Can maybe be more affordable in some locations than renting a car and booking an Airbnb for every night. I mean, again, that's depending on like if it's peak season of travel, how many RVs the place you're reaching out to has available. But it is something to look into, because we've noticed that it can be very comparable or maybe even a little cheaper to rent an RV or a van instead of booking accommodations every night.
Now, I will say to all you points and miles gurus out there, this is where I think maybe an RV wouldn't be amazing, because there is no way to book an RV with points and miles.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Unless you did a cover your travel purchase with, say, a Capital One Venture card. And I suppose the other con is that you're limiting yourself to staying in the RV versus using your points and miles that you've earned on hotels.
Well, you just are saving those for your next trip, silly.
Okay, you know what? You're right. But yeah, so many things to think about.
Lots of things to think about. But I would say overall, my personal opinion is that it's a great option, sometimes.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because you follow a lot of families that have done this.
Yeah, or one of my great friends, they own an RV. They do this on the regular. They go out and find different camping spots, and that's like their family getaway. So they do it often throughout the year. I know other families that are traveling full time in an RV right now. And I think that some people look at that and think I could never, but it's definitely the right option for some families, and it's the right kind of fun. And so, I mean, maybe even listening to this, you're like, I could never. Well, then you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But if it sounds like an adventure, then I think it's something to explore. If you choose the right location and you go in with the right mindset, it could be a great opportunity to make memories together.
Yeah. And I would say I would land in the camp of it's a great thing to do occasionally rather than sometimes. So I'm a little less than you, because I do love that flexibility and freedom to have a car.
We're getting so technical.
That I can just zip through places and gas stations and go to a grocery store really fast without worrying if they have an RV parking spot or not. Especially in places like Europe, RVs are out for me.
Yeah,
I would say specific countries only. And even places like Asia, I probably wouldn't do an RV.
No.
However, if they had pop-up campers or overlanding situation, which we have never done, which I did look into that the other day whether or not our SUV can be an overlanding vehicle, and it can. That would be something I think is like a hybrid of both. You get that sense of adventure, you're outdoors, yet you still have the flexibility of a vehicle that can go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Come back next week for more travel content with families. We hope you like this one.
Have a great week. Bye, you guys.
And don't forget to pack snacks.